Islam expanded, it developed its own apologetical and philosophical responses to Christianity and Judaism and the various Greek philosophers as it expanded and encountered these things in various civilizations, and it developed its own responses to some of these things. And this book is actually super good, The Closing of the Muslim Mind by Robert Riley, and I would encourage you to get that if you really want to understand Islamic thought and current Islamic thought, and how Islamic history really it was dominated by the Asharite school of philosophy, which basically, like I said, they early on in Islam, there were some Muslims who tried to incorporate reasoning of the philosophers into Islam, and that's where supposedly the golden age of Islam was, just for a short period of time before the Asharite school won out. And basically what the Asharite school, which to me seems to be most compatible with the Quran, is that there's absolute determinism in Islam, which even to the point that they say I have no power to raise my hand unless Allah gives me the power and the desire at the time that He wants me to raise my hand. Otherwise, I couldn't raise it. So there is no actual freedom. Like, there's literally absolute determinism, which again would undermine knowledge in itself, because you couldn't say that you know something. All you can say is that you were predetermined to know something. Whether or not it's true or not, you don't know. There's no way to know. You're just predetermined to believe this. So it undermines that. But also the Asharites believed in that Allah, and this is again what fits to me with the Quran, fits with Islam consistently, is that Allah is pure will and power, not reason. That Allah does whatever He wants to do. It's a voluntaristic view, that even to the point that if Allah wanted to send all the wicked people and the blasphemers into paradise, He could do that. And if He wanted to send all the all of the righteous people into hellfire, He could do that too. And there's a Surah, which we'll show you there in 5:17, where Allah is declaring that basically He could destroy Mary and Jesus, and He could destroy everyone on earth if He chose. He's declaring that He has the power to do that. That's voluntarism. And voluntarism undermines rationality and undermines science. And they also developed in this school of Islamic thought occasionalism, which is the denial basically of cause and effect. There's no causation, because they didn't believe that these Asharites school, which again dominated the history of predominantly the history of Islam, came to be identified with this school of thought, and still to this day is dominant. That there's not the nature of a thing. There's not the nature of a tree or a rock or a person, because they say that there are no laws of physics. There's just Allah creating and then recreating every second. And so in the process of Allah recreating everything, He could possibly make anything happen. There's nothing that follows anything else. You may think, well, this if I throw this rock against this window, it will break it. But Allah might make it to where the rock breaks instead of the window. Or He might make it to where you throw a rock against the window and flowers come out of it, because Allah can do anything He wants to do. And there are no physical laws. They saw that as a blasphemous idea, that there are things in themselves that are independent of Allah, that He created it. There almost can be no independence of the physical world from the will of Allah, to a pantheistic error point. They actually drift into that at some point. He notes in the book that there's no cause and effect, which completely undermines science, that completely undermines rationality, completely undermines sense perception. It negates your ability to know. And this is sort of our presuppositional view, is that if Allah can do anything and there is no cause and effect, you can't trust your sense perception. Allah can undermine reason if he wanted to. Reason is a human construct, they argue, and that the reasoning of the philosophers can only lead to skepticism, and you can't trust reasoning, you have to just trust blind obedience. Also, along with the voluntarism, you see that with the morals, that Allah can command anything. As long as he says to do it, it's good, and as long as he says not to do it, it's not good. So you see it undermining morality just as well. There's no reasoning connected to rationality or to morals or to science. So it guts your capacity to know the truth of it. And it also contradicts the fact that the Quran was written to be understood. So, you know, it's replete with contradiction. This is the nature of Islam, and this is self-destructive when it comes to reasoning. There's no reason for you to believe in Islam because you can't trust reasoning. You know, there's no point in even arguing about the proof of Islam, because that presupposes reasoning, which again is contrary to the will of Allah. You know, he's not subject to reasoning. So it completely destroys. I mean, this is like the utter destruction of itself. You know, and this is why Riley explains in the book that science and technology and liberty and democracy never developed in the Islamic culture in the Arab world, and even to this day they still are prone to believe in superstition, because, you know, evidence doesn't necessarily lead to a verdict because there's no cause and effect, there's no rationality. It's Allah and what Allah says, and they tend to believe what their teachers tell them to believe, basically. So we'll put some notes in there, but if you really want to deep dive into that, this book is excellent for demonstrating that, the history of it, documenting it. So I would encourage you to get that.